the goal that you told me that you are working towards this year, my wish is that you feel that you are so capable of making it bigger and that you have so much belief in yourself. So I'm so excited to do this with you all, hot stuff. It's funny. As you all know, I do love my email marketing and I love my segmentation. So when you all opted in to attend this event today, you'll notice I was like, what's your name? What's your Instagram handle? What's your email address? Oh, and what's your goal that you're actually working towards this year? And I gave you quite a few options. And it was really interesting to me that when, I feel like I know like 90% of the people that are at this workshop. When I looked at the people who registered, and I'm familiar with your brand, your website, how you do things, it was really interesting to me that I was like, this person has the ability to go so much bigger this year than their goal, so much bigger. And I want you to think for a second about when you think about maybe it's a new year or a new month and you set out with thinking, this is what I'm going to achieve this year. This is what I want to do. And the amount of times that maybe you want to go bigger, but for whatever reason, you're like, oh, you look at all of the factors, then you're like, well, the kids aren't in school yet, or this offer isn't ready, or I just know how long this last project took me. And what we start to do is we dial things down even more, until we get to this real conservative level. And we feel, as some people would say, realistic, because someone once upon a time told us that for us to achieve things in our business, we need to create SMART goals. Have we all heard of SMART goals before? Yeah. What's the R? Realistic. I'm not a fan of that. I'm going to tell you why. I am not a fan of that is because when we are realistic, what we do is we design looking back. So what we're doing is instead of turning and looking at the future and being like, I have so much working for me. I have proven my concept. I have amazing clients. I have a love of what I do. I am genuinely fucking fantastic. Do you know what we do? We look back at what we did last year and we look back at the problems and we're like, well, if I'm a bit more organized and I can sell a bit more, I'm just going to push that goal up. And what we start to end up with is, I'm going to call it like a business groundhog day, where we end up with a lot more of the same. We have the same problems, same clients. This time, it's not really the same though. Sure, we may be earning a bit more money, but what starts to happen is we really end up with, I'm going to say, the weight and the emotional weight on top of everything of why can't I make this work? How come they started when I started? And it feels like that they're so much further along than me. And then what we get sucked into is the trap of feeling like that to grow beyond us, we need to do something that is radically different. Let me spend $20,000 a month in ads. Let me hire a team of 3. Let me do this. This person has grown exponentially, so they must have the answer. And what then happens is I see every single day incredible entrepreneurs that put a ceiling on what they think that they can achieve in business and even in life, because they look at particular people that are very prevalent in an industry and how they have grown. And they're like, but I don't want to do that, so I'm happy here. And we're going to fuck that off today. Are we happy to fuck that off? Really? Yeah, it's shit, isn't it? Right? And I remember, it's funny, I remember working with someone once and they pretty much said to me, okay, cool, when you grow, you're going to need to hire this person, and then you're going to need to do this, and then you're going to need to do this, and then you're going to need to do this. And it's funny, in my head, I was calculating how much I would have to sell to make this happen. And I was like, I'm not prepared to make $500,000 to have that go, $150,000 of that minimum just go to running costs of my business. And I'm like, there has to be a smarter way. And it's funny because in my previous business, I really had a system that worked, but I feel like it doesn't matter how good you are, the noise of the online business Instagram world can suck even the smartest people in. So When you registered for this workshop, this is where you would have clicked. Now, some of you would have been like, oh shit, I didn't read goal, I read revenue. That's fine. But what I want you to do is just look at this for a second. And you don't have to tell me, you don't have to put this in a chat like what you're aiming for. But we've got under 150, we've got 150 to 300, 300 to 500, and 500 to a million. And I want you to think where you put yourself and if you are happy for that category. Are we happy for that? That's okay. I see, I'm psychic. I knew that some people would say that. So if you're not happy for that category, I want you to just place yourself in another category. And that is really what we're going to do today. Okay. So I want you to think about really two figures in mind as we go through this. What you were thinking and your business plan before this workshop, and then what we're going to do as we go through this workshop. Okay. So what is good to know as well is when we think about our decision making, it's always awesome for us to think what is influencing this. So when we come up with a goal, why do I want to do what I said I want to do? Who is putting a ceiling on this? Is it my well-meaning business friends that when I say I want to grow my business this year, they're like, why don't you wait until the kids are in school? Or is it someone that's like, oh, I want to grow too, but I can't afford a VA, so I'm just stuck where I am? And what we need to realize is if we are not conscious of this, our brain is like a sponge and it is going to take up everything that we hear around us. Okay. So even information like this, you will take this in. So you then have to be very discerning on asking yourself, is this actually serving me? If I am going to look back on my entrepreneurial legacy, would I be happy that I took this advice? Or is this limiting me? Is this making me think small? And I had only shared yesterday on Instagram, and if you haven't seen it, I'm sorry, this could potentially wreck your morning, but it is maybe the wake-up call that you need. 90 days is 1% of 25 years. That's wild, isn't it? So do the math for a second on your age. We did this yesterday. I'm not ashamed to admit, we're on a business bank call. I had to get a calendar out. I'm like 37 plus 25. And when I looked at that number, I said to my clients, I said, I will probably be retiring at that age. I said, I could still be working and doing consulting projects that I like. I said, I could be speaking or writing my book. But for the most part, I am out of the hustle of building a business. I do not want to do that. I want to enjoy my life and do the projects I want to do. And I want to live off the wealth that I've created in my business. And why I say this, it's because we can really easily go into this coasting and not just thinking, I'll just do this next month. I'll wait a little bit longer. Let me wait, let me wait until the kids are in school. Let me wait until everything settles down. Let me just wait until I'm out of this. Let me wait. And the problem is we are spending a really big chunk of our time waiting instead of just showing up and fucking making it work and being the exception and creating a really wonderful, stellar, incredible, profitable business. Because what I always like to think is, when I'm in the thick of busy and when I feel like that sometimes life is working against me and people are telling me that it has to look a certain way, I always like to think, how cool is it that I get to be an exception and an example of what is possible that I get to show someone else? I fucking love the idea of that. I heard Brooke Castillo say this once. She's like, I want to be an example of what is possible. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh, me too, babe. So if you feel like that, if you are a wonderful business owner, you are a service provider, and you are like, I feel like that no one in my industry, there is kind of this level that everyone is at, and I don't want to fucking be there. I want to be up here. What is really wonderful to think about is if you are like, this doesn't exist, how cool is it that you get to then make that exist? How cool is it that you get to be the expander for your industry where people are like, you know what, no one was really charging a lot, but then Brooke stepped forward and she really changed the game in this. I'm so inspired by her. I want to charge more. I want to run my business bigger. I don't want to feel like I'm a freelancer or I have this little business. I want to go really fucking big. And then because of that, the whole industry boosts up and then everyone's paid really, really well instead of this almost like a race to be the cheapest. And you see this a lot in fitness, where people will do this race to be the cheapest. How cheap can we make our intro offer? And what I want you to do today is really start to shift your operating system so we're not thinking about that. We're not thinking about the next month or our next client or just paying the bills. We are really thinking about the bigness and the legacy of our business and how we are so lucky that we are in charge of our future and that the office products and services that we sell can really give us a really beautiful and incredible life. I'm so excited for that. So what we are going to do today as well is we are going to break up with the standard of it's not that bad, good enough. I said this with my bathroom that I'm currently renovating. Maybe you know, maybe you don't. I've been sharing little snippets on the podcast. And when I bought my place, I walked in and I did not like the bathroom. And the first shower I had, I was like, this is shit. I hate it. I'm in a bad mood. I'm going to rip it out and I'm going to do a reno. And I had a lot of people tell me, they're like, it's not that bad. And I'm like, I'm not prepared to live life with it's not that bad as a standard. If that's your standard, that's your, like, you can do that. But for me, I want excellence. I want to go to sleep every night and have my head hit the pillow and know that I am doing incredible work and that I have an incredible life. And for me, everything that I do, I always have excellence in mind, okay? So if you have created your goal this year and what you're doing moving ahead with, I'll just make it work, it's okay. Like, I would feel okay about this. I want you, when you start to think about what you're going to do moving forward, I want you to feel fucking giddy and excited. Like, shit, this could be my $1 million year. Oh my gosh, I'm going to make 500 grand this year. How cool is it that I'm going to make 300 grand working 2 days a week around my kids? I'm so obsessed with that. And I want you to feel excited and not like this is like a laundry list of like toilet paper, 100 grand a year. And I'm not underselling anyone who wants to make, I'm going to say under 150. But as an advisor, what I want you to be aware of is that if you have gone into entrepreneurship to replace your corporate income or your salary, you have so many expenses just being a business owner that you need to consider. You've got your tax, you've got your BAS and your bookkeeping, you've got your software, you've got your subscriptions. And when we think about that, that amount that feels really big on paper isn't actually that much at all when we start to take things out. And this is that shift in thinking of moving from I'm an employee, I'm a freelancer, and as your accountant can say, and I hate this, you are your business, to really having this entrepreneurial CEO thinking of you being like, I'm going to make as much money as I can in the easiest way possible so I can live a lush life and do everything that I want. And what I also want to say to you is, I can tell that your goal is not enough for most of you, because I've had conversations with a lot of you. And the reason I know your goal is not enough is because I know for some of you, we have spoken in the past about working together and you're like, I can't afford it. If you have ever said or thought, I want this, but I can't afford it, what I want you to remember is that you're a business, you're going to have outgoings. You are allowed to spend money, okay? You're allowed to spend money, you are allowed to grow, and you are allowed to invest. So if you are going through the year with just enough, but not enough to do all of the things that you want, we've got to make that goal bigger, okay? Now, for some of you, you're going to be like, I don't know how I'm going to do that. It's just not going to work. That's what we're going to do today. And that's why I'm like, we need 90 minutes. We're not going to need 60 because I know I'm going to chat. So I am pretty sure that you are all here today because you want to make more money in an easier way, all right? Simply put, is that most people? You're like, I want to make really good money and I want to live a really good life and I don't want the fuckery. Maybe you do not want to have a team. Maybe you're like, I don't want to do the traditional coach-centric business model of create a course, run ads, launch like a quarterly workshop to sell that, be in launch for 4 weeks, teach people to do what I've done. Maybe I don't want to do any of that. But what we want is we want to look at our life and our business and feel like that we are deeply compensated for the expertise that we have built over the years that we've run our business and the hours and the hundreds, even the thousands of hours that we have put into developing our craft. And we want to feel like that our business is the vehicle to give us the life that we want. Am I right with that? Yeah, amazing. 100%. So you may be like, how do you know this? As I said, I'm pretty sure I know all of you, but in case one of you was just like, I found you on the internet and I just stumbled here and who is this amazing woman? I've been in business for 17 years and I've actually been in business across a number of different businesses. I'm going to be cheeky when I say this, and I really mean it. I guess what's different about me is I was successful in every business that I did before I actually started teaching people about business. It is really unfortunate that a lot of people have gotten their success where they have really struggled in their previous businesses and they've only built wealth going B2B or teaching people to do what they've done. And this is why for a lot of you, you're like, I feel like I've taken advice and it still doesn't work. When I had my Pilates studio, I was really adamant that I didn't want to work weekends. I didn't want to work early mornings. And everyone told me that I couldn't make this work. I worked 3.5 days a week. I didn't work before 8 o'clock. I didn't work school holidays. I worked we didn't have the whole January school holidays off. I think we had like 3 to 4. And I had great clients. One of my old clients is here right now. I had her for a few classes, beautiful Sky. And I had a really good business. And I look back at some of the prices and when I had moved, and this was in regional New South Wales. I had moved from regional New South Wales to Melbourne, and still to this day, I charge more than some of the businesses here. And I sold that business almost 10 years ago. And fitness is extremely competitive. There are studios everywhere. And for me, I was competing against $20 a week gym memberships. So I made this work and I had a really great life. I could employ my mum. So my beautiful mum worked with me. We would go on holidays all the time. Like it was such a good business. And I want you to remember that if you are truly great at what you do, and you all are, and if you are an expert, experts have options. You have options. You can do what you want. You can charge what you want. You can pick your clients. If your industry just does retainers and you're like, I don't want to do that, I want to do projects, you can do that. Because what you need to remember is when you look at your industry, a lot of people aren't thinking, I'm going to go and do what I want to do. They're going to look at what's been done. And you just have more people that are adding into this pile of what's been done. And why this is so great for you is you get to be the outlier. And there is always a need for experts. People will pay for experts. People will pay good money to have their problem solved by someone that they want to do business with or work with. They will 100% pay that. And I'm so excited for all of you to experience that. So what we're going to learn today, you're going to feel fired up. Hopefully I've already started to tick that one off. You're going to see where you are limiting yourself. What I'm going to get you to do as we go through today is really catch your thoughts that come up. I learned from Brooke Castillo. She has her model, which is circumstance, thought, feeling, action, result. And she's like, a lot of the time, what we think is actually a circumstance is us just thinking about something. She has the most brilliant podcast on this. It's called the Life Coach School podcast. I would recommend diving in if you want to learn that. And what you'll start to see is that you may push back or think about some things that I say. And what I'm going to say to you is that's just your thought. And I can always find evidence of the opposite that is going to really grow you to support that. Okay. You're going to learn my process for business growth. So you may be familiar with this, GOLS. We're going to run your business through and we've got a fun task to do after that. And then at the end, if you're like, I want to work with you, we're just going to talk about 2 options, max 2 minutes. Okay. You guys follow me. You know, this is not a thinly veiled sales pitch. This is going to be a workshop where you get something out of. Okay. So make sure you have pen and paper and enjoy. Now, as we know, we need a business that works for us. And I think for a lot of us, we have this belief of, if I want to double what I did last year, our brain goes to, I need to work harder and I need to double the work and I probably need to hire a virtual assistant. Now, if there are any virtual assistants or business support people, I know it can seem like I'm throwing you under the bus. I'm really not, and hear me out. Why I bring this up as this is not a solution is we can think right now about our business. And we can think like, let's pretend that you're at 150 grand a year and you are capped. Okay. You're like, I can't work anymore. I'm so busy. I'm going to hire someone and it's going to work out across the year at $30,000. So you think about it. Now we really have 120 grand left to play with. Obviously, I'm not an accountant, so that person does become a tax deduction. So it's going to work out in the end. But you can see here how we now have we're down 30 grand in our business. So for you to make that back, you don't need to just make back that $30,000. If you make back 31 grand, you're effectively only $1,000 ahead. You would need to make back, I would say 60 or 90 to make that worthwhile. Companies will actually have this. They will work out, if we have a hire, we need them to generate 500 grand in revenue. And you can search this of different companies and how much they make per employee. So a company will know if we hire someone, we can expect that we're going to make an extra $2 million. The problem is online business hasn't taught us this. They've just taught us that if we bring more people in, then this will work. And what's good to know if you are a business support service provider, really start to communicate this with your messaging and how you're talking about things. Mariana is on the call. She's so wonderful at doing this about ROI. So she will talk about, if you pay me this is what you will actually get from this investment. This is how your business can look. Because what you need to understand is if you're capped at 150,000, so let's pretend, we only have 38 hours a week to work on our business. You need to market, you need to sell, you need to do your admin, you need to think, you need to be creative. So 18 hours of that is that. You have 20 hours for delivery, okay? So you have to make basically like the bulk of your work, if you are a service provider, happen in that 20 hours. So if you hire someone at $150,000, you do 150 grand in sales, you hire someone at 30 to help. You're at 120. So you're now making less. So your ability to take a bigger wage is lessened. Sure, you have help. However, if I tell you, I want you then to not only bring that 30 back, but double it again, can your business, oh my God, I knew I was going to do this to myself, math, can your business make on top of that 150, can your business make an extra 60? Can you make $210,000 in that time? Or are you going to be in the same spot where you're like, I need more hours. I'm back in the same spot. Can you even make 240? And you can see here how doubling the work will only get us so far. Bringing more hands on, if we actually don't have a structure that works for us, will also only get us so far. And we will continually be back at that same point, butting up against that same ceiling of, I can't seem to grow. Why is this hard? I'm doing all the right things. Okay. So what I want you to do, and my challenge for you, I've got 2 challenges for you this year. I want you to double your revenue goal. Double your revenue goal. So if you have said, let's go for easy math for a second. Just say you've said 100 grand, you're going to make it 200. The reason I'm saying this is we all went to school. Yeah. We've done tests. We done tests. Okay. Who was a really good student? Who actively tried? You would do a test and you're like, let me study. Okay. How often did you get 100%? All the time? No. Okay. Can you see here how we set ourselves up for failure if our goal is 100 grand and our business plan is 100 grand? Guess what we do? We fill our workday being like, I will allow this space to fill up so I just make 100 grand. And you are basically expecting 100% perfect test result every time. What you have to remember, the people that have kids, your kids are going to get sick. Your kids will be a priority, okay? You can't lock them in a cupboard. They will take your attention. For those people that have a life, all of us, that is going to take attention. You can get sick. You want to have time off. You want to go on holidays. I have a client right now that said to me at the start of the year, I am eloping. I'm going to be away. I'm going to have a month off my business. I'm like, sweet. As her advisor, I don't want to say, well, bitch, you better get back in your business because you're not going to make it work. We make it work. When we double it, you now have a bigger ceiling. So if your first goal was 100, but you are aiming for 200 grand, guess what's going to happen? You're going to go past that. You could really amaze yourself and do 150. You could do 180. Shit, you could go past the 200. But what we're doing is we're not setting ourselves up for failure by building our business plan on that ceiling. Okay? So moving forward, we don't want to do that. If you do launches, if you think about your income goal, if you are like, my goal in March is to make 20 grand this month. What is going to set you up really well for business planning is to not make a business plan and a plan to make 20 grand. It's to make 25. It's to make 30. And as a byproduct, you'll hit that 20. Because you can see here how we set ourselves up for that 100% test result every time, and how we can, I feel sometimes like our feelings about ourselves and our business can start to erode over time if we set this unrealistic goal that's really not designed to hit, that we don't hit. And then we're like, how can I keep fucking this up? What we need to do is we need to make that benchmark way higher. So as a byproduct, we hit it. That's your first challenge. Your second challenge. How would you feel about how you make every dollar? I want you to love how you make every dollar. Could you all do that for me? Who feels like that feels scary? Or how do we feel about that? Do we feel good? Do we feel like that feels impossible? Like when we think about all the sales in our business that we can log into, wherever we're logging our sales, Stripe, Xero, if we're looking them at Mind Body, and we can look at every dollar and we're like, oh, I love that. Oh, I love that client. Oh my gosh, I love that result. Oh my gosh, I loved having a DM chat with that. Yeah, that is also your challenge, okay? I think I'm the opposite because I like what I do and I'm willing to accept less money. That is something that we have to rewrite. And this is something as well that you will see with creatives, where there is sometimes this mismatch of, oh, if I'm doing this for more money, I'm not going to like the work, or I'm going to have to sell my soul, or I'm going to have to work with a segment of people I don't want to work with. You know, it's something I hear quite a lot in here. People are like, oh, if you want to earn more big money, you have to sell to corporate. I'm like, no, I don't. Alex Hormozy could pay me, and he is going to pay me faster and more money than these corporate pricks. So I don't understand why people go that way. So again, we get to question our beliefs that come up. So I want you to love how every dollar has been made, because if there is another thing we have to stop, it's this martyrdom shit in business of I've made the money, but at what cost? I hate that. I hate that. I hate when people talk about how they made their first million and they burned out. You know what I hear? You need to run your business better. That's literally every time I see a post like that, I'm like, run your business better, work with an advisor. Because we need to look at the standards that we go into running our business. And for a lot of you, this is also going to feel scary, because you are going to then turn away money and it's going to feel really conflicting. You're going to be like, I'm turning away money, but I want to make more money. I'm turning away this red flag client, but Peter told me to like double my goal. Trust me on this, okay? And unfortunately for all of you, you're going to be challenged now that we've had this conversation. So you're going to write that down on a Post-it note and you're going to put it somewhere. You're going to write it in like language that resonates with you, about you are going to love how every dollar has been made in your business. That is the challenge, okay? So we're going to lead forward with joy. We are going to lead forward with work that lights us up, because remember, you are experts. You can charge what you want. And maybe that's another thing that you write down. I am an expert. There is no fucking ceiling. I can charge what I want. I can do what I want. I can have the business that I want. Someone will always be prepared to pay you whatever you want. I know that for a fact. So, quick problems. We've already covered this. I do not like incremental growth. Anytime people talk about incremental growth, I know two things will happen. Let me sell a bit more. Let me work a bit harder. Sometimes I don't feel like an expert. We all have times like that. What it's going to be up to you to do is to start to fill your evidence bag. But what this is also going to enable you to do, here is something great. The more spaciousness that you create in your business by doing really well paid work and having your business work for you, you will free time up that you can develop your craft. One of my clients, Brooke from Right Mode, I have like a little slide at her at the end, but she is now consulting at $1,000 an hour. 1,000 an hour. Most of my clients, or actually all of them, would be 500 to maybe 1,500. I have worked with more, but at the moment, that's where all of them are sitting for their consulting work. Okay. So this is obviously B2B, this is consulting. Because they now have so much spaciousness, they can literally spend a whole day deep diving in something. They can do a course. They can do whatever they want. So remember that when your business plan works for you, if you still feel like that you are developing what you're doing, you have spaciousness to do that. Okay. So we don't want to do incremental growth, because as we know, the way to make significantly more money is not by just being a smidge more strategic. It's not by selling a little bit more. It's not going to work. It will work up until a point, and then it doesn't work, and then you need to redevelop the plan. Okay, a coach-centric blueprint. If you decide that you want to be a coach, you 100% can. If you're like, I want to teach people to do what I have done, you can. But you don't have to do that, okay? You don't have to sell courses. You don't have to become a coach. Like, if you feel that the only way that you are going to be successful is by teaching people how to make a lot of money, there are so many people that really excel in their field and they make so much money. So before this, I would say from 2021 to 2023, pretty much most of my revenue was coming from email marketing consulting. I was being paid really good money to talk about segmentation. So you know those little check boxes that we had on that form? I would work with companies and we would look at their segments, and then we would look at their forms, and I would be like, put this here and send this email to them. And they're like, okay, here's $1,000. I'm like, thank you. So, and you think about it, that wasn't teaching people how to make a lot of money. It was really around something so niche as email marketing and like CRM and their database. Okay. So people will pay good money for this. Now, the outlay of labor for money, we've already established this. If you feel like that you need to bring people in to make money, or that you need to like keep showing up and teaching more or having more clients, that is also a flawed model, because you only have so many hours in the day and in the week, and you also have so many hours that you want to work. Halfway through, we're going to look at 2 different ways that we can grow. Again, designing our business from the past, we know why we don't want to do this, because we end up with more of the same. We have a groundhog days business with more of the same shit. We want to orient ourselves in the future, ask, what do we want? Where are we going? And then wishing for future capacity. This is probably a big one for any of my parents that are in the room. People that think, if I only had more time, I could make this work. The reason I don't like this is because I want you, and you absolutely can, have a business that works around your current situation. I don't want you thinking, when my kids are in school, this can be better, because your business is happening right now. What I want is for us to make it work right now. And then imagine when you have more time, if you want to fill it with work, you can. If you want to fill it with, doing a hobby in that time, you can. But I want you to look at what we're working with currently, and you all can make this work. And then lastly, you think like an employee and not an entrepreneur. So this is, I just need to make this much this month. Let me go and do this. And we start to build a job for ourselves instead of building a business that truly works for us. And you can see here some differences in the thinking. So on the left, we have employee like sole trader mindset. And then on the right, we've got CEO entrepreneurial. So, when we look at employee, it's like we're focusing on immediate tasks. It's very reactive work. What do I need to do today? What am I doing now? It's like showing up, sitting down at your desk, and it's like, oh, fuck, what do I do? Okay, cool, we'll do this. Okay, awesome, we'll do this. Instead of when we think like an entrepreneur and a CEO, and we really design the future. That's what entrepreneurs do. They design the future. They design something that does not yet exist, and they actualize that, and they are fine with it failing. They are fine with the road bumps because they have that beautiful goal and that North Star worked out. So this is why I always talk about entrepreneurial thinking, because this is going to benefit every single one of you. Now, what you'll find, and what I would love to know in the chat, is where you feel like your biggest block is currently. Is it that you've put a ceiling in? Is it you feel like you can't work with your current business model? Is it that you've told yourself that you need to be really hands-on? I need more hours to make this work. Is it you're looking back in the past and you're like, well, I can't do that because I've done it before? Is it your capacity, even your mental capacity, or is it your mindset? Time. Okay, awesome. What else? What else do we have here? Capacity, mindset, ceiling. Need more hours. Yeah, this is a big thing. My lobotomy. Hesitancy to raise prices. I will also say that raising your prices is only one way of business growth. There are so many ways that you actually can make this work. Okay. Remember when I had the studio, I was selling $20 Pilates classes. I think our mat classes went up to $28. And we packaged some things up and that worked really well. And then building a really strong brand, which is the model A, which I'll show you, it worked really well for that. Capacity. Yeah. So what your goal is I want you, now that we know what's blocking you, I want you to start to catch your thoughts that come up. And this is a chance for you to rewrite them and find new evidence of this actually working for you. Okay. So I was talking before about the two different models. There is obviously flexibility in how your business can look. Now, if I was sitting in front of you right now and we were working specifically on your business based on your strengths, we would create a really strong plan that maybe would be a hybrid, or we would come up with other options. I've had clients before where we've actually developed another business. I'm like, this business works really well. Let's double down on this. But we actually could completely serve a new market. I had explored doing a corporatized version of Professional Babe, and I still, I'm in two minds about it because I don't want to take my attention off my current business, but doing a corporatized version where I'm selling $50,000 and $100,000 offers minimum. It's like, if you don't have 50 grand budget, we're not going to be a client. And it's essentially doing a corporatized version for like bigger business of what I do with all of my clients. But have a read of both of these. So we have a low cost volume based model. This is what you see a lot online of people who are like, I made $500,000 this month selling downloadables, or I'm selling low cost things. It is high volume. They are relying on continual content and a really strong brand to make a lot of money. And this is where I see people and experts go wrong. Let me create a $20 ebook. And I'm like, if you don't want to have a really strong content strategy and continually show up and continually sell, it is a harder way to make money. This works really well with some people. I have a client at the moment. She is a baby sleep consultant. We have a core desire of accessibility. So we want her work to be highly accessible. And when we have accessible work, we need to have very accessible pricing. She is doing very well, but she is doing content and she's showing up and she is being visible. The right side is actually, believe it or not, what is easiest to sell. Our brain will tell us that it's not, and people won't pay us good money. And the reason is because we would have tried something in the past. Oh, that didn't sell. I had people say it was too expensive. What were we talking before about? We can't design our future looking back. You can see here how some of you think you don't do that. But as soon as I say, I want you to put something out that's more expensive, or a package, or develop something. So you may have like a bit of a scope where you're like, well, within my field, we have a structure of what we can charge. I would never charge a client $1,000. You may not, but you could develop a training model and sell that to people and charge really good money for that. You could license your work. You could do like day training. There is, and you probably all follow her, Annalise McCarthy from Her Speaking Coach. She is doing these beautiful day events. It looked yesterday like she had 100 people there at $500 a ticket. That's a great day's worth of work. She pretty much did in a day what some people do in a whole year. There are so many different ways that we can do this. This is my favorite: high ticket, premium positioning, expert era. And what this enables you to do is, I know sometimes we think if I go big, people can't afford me. Do you know what's so amazing, which has happened in my business? Now that I charge more money, guess what happens? I give back. Could you imagine if I had to work every minute of the day and count how every dollar has been made? Do you think I'd have time to do this? I wouldn't have time. When I tell people, I'm like, I teach a really good workshop and it's not a sales one. They're like, how? And I'm like, well, I people will work with me. I get clients all the time. This is a way for me to give back because I understand what it was like to like need advice that I felt like I couldn't access. Um, what is your branding thinking around having a super high ticket service with a relatable, not so super luxe brand style? Anything can work. It doesn't need to be, and remember, I think everyone has a different idea of luxury. For me, when I look at like people that are wearing like head to toe designer in super polished, like you'll see it a lot on like the Instagram coach aesthetic. To me, that's not luxury because I'm like, you had to book a shoot and do up your day to do that. You don't look like that every day. Luxury to me is spaciousness. It is someone living a great life on their terms. It's doing whatever the fuck they want. There's a coach called Taki Moore and he presents and he never wears shoes. And I'm like, I love that you just do that. I love that you're like, I don't care if I'm barefoot and someone doesn't want to work with me. And I can tell he's successful because of the energy of how he shows up. So I think this is where we again get to rewrite why do we think people wouldn't be interested and where is this influencing us? Especially for people that have a strong personal brands, how can we bring that authenticity? Because that is magnetic and people are, again, will 100% pay for that. Okay, so are we familiar with my goals process for business growth? If you're like, no, we're going to go through it. And if you're like, yes, we're going to go through it. So why did I ask you that? I don't know. This is what this looks like. Goals, offerings, lead generation, and sales. Goals for short. When I work with entrepreneurs, it's really funny that they will try to answer all of these questions. We'll talk about making $1 million in a year for them. And they're like, but I don't know what I'm going to sell. And I currently can't sell. And I don't know about showing up on TikTok. And they will be talking about all of these categories interchangeably. And I'm like, I can tell why you're overwhelmed because we are mixing processes. I want you to see this as a pipeline. Okay. If there is a block in your goals, it is going to influence your offers, how you show up and how you sell. We don't start with sales. We start with the goal. Because if we have created our business to give us a good life and to deliver us everything that we want and for us to work on our terms and for us to make awesome fucking uncapped money, guess what we do? We start here. We start goals. And then guess what we do? We look at our offerings, products, and services, and we remember that these are the vehicle for our goal to happen. Then we create our content to sell this, and then we have a sales process. Over the top of this, we have mindset. People think that mindset is just something that you learn. I've got a good mindset. I have learned working with clients that someone can have the most amazing sales mindset. They know they can sell. But as soon as I tell them to add an extra zero to something, they shit the bed. They're like, can't do that. I'm like, this is really interesting. So this is going to be something that you are continually going to have to work on and find evidence for. And you are going to have a good mindset in every single one of these categories. Some of you you'll think about having $1 million year and you'll be like, oh, fuck, I'm great. I can't wait for that to happen. And then you'll look at what you sell and you're like, no, that's too much. That's too big. Can't do that. No one's going to pay that. And then you look at your content. Oh my God, my content's great. But why isn't this working? Oh, because you're not selling. So what you also can start to figure out is where is your block? I'm okay if your block is sales because we can easily fix that. The problem is if your block is right at the start with your goals, because you can see that influences everything else. And why I said I want you to double it because it's going to benefit everything that we do upstream. So what we're really thinking about today is we are going to ignore these two, content and sales. We are going to think of goals and what we're selling. Okay, we have already worked this out. I've told you to double your goal. And I've challenged you to do it by not thinking that we need to work more and that you have to love how every dollar has been made. You've worked that out. Obviously, if I'm working with clients, we go a lot deeper on this, but for the sake of today, this is still going to really benefit you. So what we then need to look at is we need to look at how we've actually packaged our offerings, products, and services up. Okay, so we've covered a lot of this when we look at our goal, know your goal, know your model. So understand your business model. Are we going expert? Are we going like lower ticket? We're focused on volume. Figure that out, because again, that will influence your offers. We want to consider our boundaries and standards, and then our money, goals, and profit always, and then bad days business model. We know this. Ugh. But now let's look at this category: offerings, products, and services. So your offers are the vehicle for your goal to happen. I want you to remember that. So if your goals are never happening, we need to look at what we're selling. We need to look at what we're selling, plain and simple. It's really interesting. Sometimes I will call my clients out when they tell me that they're so busy right now and they can't do stuff. And I will then challenge them on, if you are so busy, you better be raking it in with cash. And if they're like, no, I'm not, I'm like, what is sucking all your time? Like, where is this going? And I see this a lot with people that spend a lot of time on their content. Now, you are always going to have to market, and you're always going to have to do content. That is going to have to be something that's going to have to happen in your business. But if you feel like that you're spending all this time and you have no time and we need to make more money, something in your business needs to shift. For experts, it is the fact that they haven't done something like this. So what you're seeing right now is a profit tracker. I do this for every single one of my clients. If you are a service provider and we work together, I will make you map out the profitability of every offer. Every client that I've ever worked with, and it doesn't matter if they're charging $10,000 for something, okay? You may think, oh shit, they're making heaps of money. When we physically map it out, it is really interesting when they see these numbers reflected back to them. They're like, fuck, I'm doing so much work and I'm hardly making any money. And what we often do is, especially if we have transitioned from our job, maybe we've worked at an agency and we've gone out on our own. We are looking at our old hourly rate against the project that we're selling. So if we were on $50 an hour as an employee, we're looking at that compared to charging $10,000. And we're like, okay, that's a big amount of money. This will work out in the end. But when we actually physically map it out, what it tells is a different story. And sometimes it can be really confronting with what we see. Now, this is where when I said price increases are only a small portion of something, because why we have to do this step first is, if you have a price increase and we haven't worked this out, what clients will usually do is scope creep will happen and they'll over deliver. I had a client once that she increased the price of an offer. I'm laughing because when I questioned her on this, I just remember her face on a call and she was like, fuck, why did I do that? She was doing a half a day something. It was like a half a day event. And she was charging, let's say $1,000 for this. And then she's like, I'm going to double the price. That feels really good. And I'm like, awesome. Do you know what she did? The half a day something went out to a 2-week container. I'm like, we're actually earning less than we were before. Because now she's like, oh no, but the time, like I'm not with them that whole time. And I'm like, I understand that, but they're still in here. There is that energetic space. You are thinking about them. You are carrying their energy. And why I like this is you have to get honest with yourself. So as a service provider, I want you all to have an hourly rate, just for the sake of you working this out. Now, for some of you that have gone into this and you're like, look, I know that this whole event was me making money as a solo practitioner. Awesome. But if you know that contractors are in your future, I want you to remember that when you bring contractors into your business, it's not just about paying them and losing money. Do you know what I mean? So it's not like, let's bill the client $50 and we're paying the contractor $50. What it becomes is, let's bill the client $150 and pay the contractor $50. That's how it has to look. So you need to make sure that if you are bringing people into your business, remember what I was saying, there's no point paying someone and then just making their money back, because you're back at square one. We need to either double it or triple it. And in some instances, we have to quadruple it. And again, this is where some of you may be freaking out, because you're like, fuck, I can see now why I'm at the point that I'm at and why hiring is not always the answer. What it is coming back to your offers. So what you may need to do here is be a lot more boundaried. Maybe you are selling hour-long consults, but it's not an hour. You actually do 90 minutes and you stress because you have a bit of a money block. So you really prepare and then you over-deliver at the end. So this hour consult is now 4 hours. You can see here how having a price increase isn't going to solve that, because I know what you're going to do. You are going to probably over deliver even more. This is about really being honest with yourself and being like, if I was really doing like CEO thinking right now, and if I had a staff member that was over delivering with every project, which prevented us from, really getting more clients, would I let that shit slide? If I was paying someone 120 grand, would I be happy with their output? And this is probably for me a confronting question I ask when I feel like that I've gotten really distracted. I'm like, would I be a good employee today? And I'm like, no, absolutely not. And then I'm like, okay, cool. What happened? And it may be I just left no time for play. I took my lunch break out and then I just let that leak into my whole day. Okay. So it's not about beating yourself up. It's about having honesty. So what I want you to do is I want you to start to actually map out, what does it actually cost you to run your offer? And then what we want to aim for is we want to aim for profit in every offer. Now, you can see on this spreadsheet that I've accounted for about 30% tax. We all have different tax rates. For me personally, I like to overestimate so that I can put more aside, and that if we end up with more money as a company, guess what I get to do? I get to pay myself a dividend. I get a really good profit share. If you are a sole trader, this is going to look a little bit different, because you will look at your profit, but you'll also have your wage in here as well. But we want this number to always be in a positive, because what you have to remember as well is that you may not be paying yourself what you're billing yourself out at. That's fine. But if you are not doing things that you want in business because your business doesn't have the money, we have to look at the vehicle to make that goal happen, which is what we're selling. Now, for some of you, you are going to be like, well, we'll go back to our slides here. You're going to be like, I have scope of what I could do. So I'm going to go back to my Pilates studio, because even though I charge good money, no one's paying in Maitland $500 an hour for a Pilates private. That's just not going to happen. So what I need to do is I need to make sure the core of my offers work. And then what I get to do is I get to then package my expertise into something that is scalable. So what we do is we look at the goal and we look at all of the assets that we currently have. And this is where we do something that I like to call possibility math. So when we have like our 200 grand goal, we'll stick with that easy math. Let's pretend that, okay, cool. I can really get 100 grand doing this existing offer. I'm going to have to maybe have a price increase. I'm going to have to be a lot more boundaried. And then awesome, guess what? I get to bring on 2 more clients. So maybe it's not even 120 now. 100 now. It's 120. So you've got this 80 grand deficit. What we get to do is we get to explore how we get to make that. Maybe I'm like, well, I'm an expert. Okay. I've got a process of teaching a really fucking awesome mat class. Maybe I can look at what's happening in the industry and I'm like, I hate this. For those of you that are really led with strong emotion, there's so much data in that. And what we get to then do is we get to be like, why is this hot on my heart? Why do I have stuff coming up? What do I hate about this? And what that is revealing to you, it's usually conflicting within your own process and expertise. People will pay for that, because guess what? You are not the only person thinking that this is crap. So, an example of this is Business Bang really is led with our goals process. Business Bang was actually created as, when I created it initially, I went into, I think it was, what year was it? 2023. I went into that. I actually was like, I like Give Good Email, but I feel like I'm losing this segment of client. Okay. And I'm like, I want to create something for them, but I don't even know what it is. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just schedule this in my calendar. I'm going to schedule that we're going to launch something. I don't know what it is, but I want it to be about this price point and I want it to be scalable. That's actually how I created Business Bang. It was from putting my CEO hat on, being like, there is a gap in the market for this client, let me create this. And I have designed this in my business in a way where I can realistically make $1 million a year as a sole provider with Give Good Email and then business bang, and then consulting with clients that I want. If I had the studio, this is where, again, we go back to goals. I could be like, well, I want a job where I can travel. That feels really nice and sexy. So I'm going to develop something where I get to travel around to every state and even across the world, and I get to teach my method in this thing. How awesome is that? People in industries always pay to upskill. You think about it, you could charge $1,500 a person. You get 10 people. That's a nice little 15 grand day rate that you have just made yourself. You could do more than that. There is Sarah Jane. I can't remember her last name, but she does spinal energetics and she is now traveling the world. She has a great life. She has basically developed an RTO. She has her in-person clinic where people come, they do their sessions, and then she has developed her own method that she teaches. Really common with experts. So what I want you to remember is that if you see someone within an industry that is really doing something amazing, I think that we can convince ourselves that someone else put them there. What opportunity did they get? And what I want you to remember is they probably created that opportunity for themselves. So if you see someone doing something and you're like, I want that, it is up to you to go and do that. You can put yourself there. And I feel that for some of us, I know for me, I had a really big chosen wound. I was always sitting back waiting to be chosen. I was in everything, in dating, in life, in business, and I would be waiting to be discovered. I can't wait for my magazine cover. I'll just sit and wait and then someone will contact me. And I'm like, but what if that doesn't happen? Are you prepared to get to your end of your life waiting? And it's like, no, I'm not. If I want my magazine cover, I'm going to be like, hey, knock, knock, put me on the cover. I'm going to put myself out there to make that happen. So for you all, your homework is I want you to start and think about something bigger. We only have so much time today, but on the podcast and my YouTube channel, there is a workshop that I did last year called Work Smart, Make Bank. And this really goes into how you can put your intellectual property into a scalable asset. We do a whole workshop on that. Because trust me, we would be here for 2 days if we go deep into this. So that is going to be exceptional for every single one of you. If you are like, I want to create a scalable asset. So I want to create something like Give Good Email where I can sell one to many, or Business Bang, one to many, or I want to create like an audio series, or I want to like license my work. It is going to be exceptional for that. So that is also your homework. It's called Work Smart, Make Bank. I will send that out on the recording. And if you're listening to this on the recording, I will link that below. We also have our lead generation and our visibility. For the sake of today and just staying on task, just have a quick little look at these. But you just want to make sure that when you have your goal worked out and your offering worked out, you of course will have to do delivery, but you need to make sure that you are visible and that you have a sales process. The more expensive, and I'm using that in quotations because I don't think expensive is a bad thing, the more expensive that you make an offer, you don't need as many leads and you don't need as many sales. So you can kind of like not have to worry as much about that stuff, but it is up to you to have work in the pipeline and not feel like that you come back and you're like, okay, shit, I need clients. Things like wait lists are going to be great, building relationships, continually doing business development, having those long-term relationships and just keeping them nurtured are going to be really, really good for you as well. So this is really how this looks. And you can see here how when we have our offerings worked out, how our goals are really easy, and then how a lot of the how, okay, is already worked out. It's like if you said to me, okay, I want to make $1 million. Okay, cool. How are you doing it? Well, I'm going to sell these offers. This is how this is going to look. Okay, awesome. Then when you've got that worked out, then guess what you get to do? You get to focus on delivery and you get to show up and you get to be visible in whatever way works for you. Maybe it's events. Maybe you're in BNI. Maybe it's Instagram. Maybe it's LinkedIn, whatever it is. And then you have to have a sales strategy. And you will surprise yourself about how that mental weight is taken off because you've worked out these first 2 categories, okay? What is really fun to do, and again, another task that you can go and do is you can all think about how you would make $1 million. I love this. I ran a mini mind once called The Business of Email. And what I got my clients to do is I said, someone has come to you with $100,000 budget, spend it. What are you selling the client? And what we did is I gave them this task and we had a call where they all got to come and present their $100,000 offer. And what was so interesting is you think about it, everyone was here to learn how to sell email marketing services and everyone had a different offer. Some people did projects. Some people were like, you know what we would really do? We know this is email, but we're going to bring in ads. Some people were pitching retainers. And it was so interesting where I challenged them. I said, I want you to lead this with your expertise. What are you good at? If anything is possible and you could make any amount of money doing whatever you're good at, what would you do? And this can be really awesome for you to think about, to kind of get out of that realistic thinking, okay? So if I said to you, this is going to be your $1 million year, awesome. What else? How's the goal going to look? Are you going to do $1 million working in school hours? Are you going to do $1 million not working school holidays? Are you going to do $1 million only working night times? Like, how does your life look? And then what are you selling for that? Remember, how are we going to love how we've made every dollar? What are you going to do? Maybe you're going to do the core of what you're selling, but you are really inspired by Annalise and her speaking circuit. And you're like, I want to go and do that. I want to go and I want to put my voice on stages around Australia and I'm going to get people in a room, or I'm going to create a really awesome community. Or you know what? This life-changing method that I have developed, I'm actually going to package this up and I'm going to sell this high ticket to practitioners. Because I know that they're probably not getting the training that is making them great because they're new grads. I'm so great at this. I'm going to sell this. I'm going to license my work. And then we get to think about, well, how are we going to sell it? Sorry, who are we selling it to? And then how are we going to sell it? And allow your mind to wander, because as we allow our mind to wander, our limitations will start to bubble to the surface. And then we get to rewrite those. We get to be like, is this serving me? No, okay, in the bin. Let's replace that with something different. So I have some examples here of some clients that I am working with at the moment that I want to talk you through. I spoke about her earlier, Brooke from Right Mode. Brooke, I would say, has a typical B2B background where she would start as more of a business support person as a VA. This is something I see a lot where people will start as a VA or like a doer behind the scenes. And what the problem is with this is you will always be confined to your hourly rate. People will be like, well, I'm not going to pay a VA $200 an hour. And this is where you need to then lead with your expertise and transformation. And the payment, it becomes in a way irrelevant because people are looking at, well, what am I paying you for? And it doesn't become time for money. So what we did with Brooke is she had a really fucking great skill set. Like, she's amazing at AI. We've also had her on the podcast. Brooke had her first $100,000 year last year, and she did this around kids. She's neurodivergent, and we wanted to make her business work for her. So what we did is we did a bit of a rebrand. So we elevated her brand. I said, we have to get rid of anything that implies that you are even close to a virtual assistant. We do not do that anymore. You are an expert in your space. What was great about this is because we've repackaged her offers, she now has more space where she can create content, she can give back, she can make her work accessible. And she also can really just like spend time basically fucking around and having fun with what she's doing. So she has now around about $1,000 an hour consulting rate. Isn't that amazing? So like if you want her expertise, she's gonna charge you good money for that. She is getting paid really good for workshops. She now does like a lot of scalable stuff as well. We had her on a call the other day and she said that she wanted to do smaller workshops. She's like, I feel like I just want to lean in and and if I feel inspired about doing something, I want to do it. And I said to her, you can do it, but you can't spend 3 weeks on this. Like, I expect it done. And she basically, an hour after our call, she had a whole sales page up. She had a payment link and she was already promoting this offer. So she has now, in some way, she has shifted to that like low cost, high volume. And I think she's already made for a $100 workshop. I think she's got maybe 50 people registered. She's going to get 100. So 2-hour workshop, $10,000. That's pretty good. So she now has built this to work for her. Then we have Caroline from Story. So Caroline, again, very behind the scenes of her business. And when she worked with me, it was really interesting when I talk with clients, what they want to do always will come out. So she said, I love the crisis and I love the comms and I love kind of like being on a disaster when it happens and how we can really like be like reactive and like she's everything about this. She's like, I just love this work. I really challenged her. I said, I want you to go on TikTok. I think that you would be amazing. She is killing it on TikTok. The people that follow her are amazing. Like she has some big celebrity people on there. She's got brands. It's exceptional. She is doing amazing consulting work. And I checked her website. We've got a $1,200 an hour consulting rate. I worked with Caroline the whole of last year. And, you know, it was a bit of a process, the same with Brooke. Okay. So I'm not saying this is going to happen overnight. You are going to kind of have to put some things in place. And then I've got Ali. I did a strategy session with her last year, and then we've worked together in about a month. And we repositioned a lot of her offers. So if you work in a specialized industry, again, you can charge what you want. So Ali is in the sex tech industry. So she works with porn stars, sex tech companies, and like the 0.01% of OnlyFans creators. So she has really made her mark in this industry. And the more specialized you are, the more that you can charge. And she delivers amazing fucking results for her clients, but was really pricing herself when looking at what do people in marketing and social media charge. And then the problem was with that, and some of you may be experiencing this now, is you pop a ceiling on what you're doing. You're like, well, I can't deliver more because I can only charge this. So you kind of feel like you're not really working at your full potential. On her website now, you'll see that she positions a $3,900 a month retainer as a standard, which again is exceptional. She has time to do her content. She is flying around. She is doing speaking events. So again, all of these people have very different businesses, but something that they lead with is their expertise. Mariana brought up that Brooke has a membership too. I completely forgot about that. But you can see here how, you know, with Brooke, she has built accessibility in. Caroline, same thing. She has developed her business in a way where she can be so content first. She can deliver with that and then get the work that she wants. And then the same with Ali. So allow these beautiful women to be 3 expanders for you in your business. And what I'm going to encourage you to do as well is to like really look for evidence that this can 100% work for you. Okay, because it 100% can. As I said to you, my business plan has been set that I can make $1 million as a solo service provider, and we are on track. Do you know how fucking good that feels? I love it. It means I do more workshops like this. It means I have a sexy life. It also means I'm compensated really, really nicely. So what is so lucky for all of you today is that you are all gifted at what you do. I want you to remember that. And if you feel like that sometimes you go into self-doubt, what is really awesome for you to challenge your brain with is not to throw men under the bus. If a man was in my position, how would he handle this? Right? How would he handle this? I work in a co-working space, and I really am obsessed with the fact that there are some people in here who are yet to make a single dollar who talk about their business in such a high way. I've got a startup. We've got a cutting edge startup. We've got like the best people on the ground. We have got the leaders in the industry that are involved in this cutting edge project that is going to change the game in this industry. And they're selling fucking lawnmowers and they haven't even started yet. They're just looking at colors, right? So you need to start talking about yourself in a more high way. And what I'm also going to say as well is, for a lot of you, and something that I have done is I am happy to move forward in business, sometimes being outside of my depth, because I know myself as a person and I am never going to deliver shit work. That is below my standard. But what I will do is I will put myself in rooms and situations where I have to grow. I will accept work that I'm like, fuck, I haven't done this before, but I know I could help them out. And sometimes I will have some scope creep on a particular project. But what it then does is it shows my brain, hey, bitch, you can do this. You're so fucking good at that. Look how great you are. And then I continually am raising that ceiling of possibilities and how this can look for me and my business. So I don't want any of you to put yourself in a tiny box, because what you are going to do is come up with tiny little outcomes. You need to really look at your ceiling and reassess that. And again, I want you to double that. And I think you will really surprise yourself at the greatness that can come from that. What I would love for you all to do is check in with me. I am expecting to get a message from each and every single one of you at the end of the year, not even the end of the year. I'm going to say November, December, saying, hey, you know how you told me to double my revenue? Well, I did that and I loved how I made every dollar. And I want you to just sit in the energy of that and just being like, how cool is it that that is my future? How amazing is it that when people talk about their business and how shit it is and how no one pays and how it'd be so good to go back to employment, I'm like, I can't even relate to this conversation. I have nothing to add. It's like that scene in Mean Girls where everyone's talking about what they hate about each other. And Katie's there and she's like, I don't hate anything about myself. That is what we want, and that is available to you. So I want to thank you so, so, so much for coming. As we start to wrap this up, if you've got any questions, and I'm sure there's going to be a few, pop them in the chat. I will answer everything. There is going to be some of you today that you are like, this is what I've needed. I've needed some Peter energy. I need to know I'm on the right track. I need to know that I just want my blind spots called out for me. This is what you've needed. There is going to be some of you though, and I know that you are just ready to dive in. I do have two wonderful options. So I have my wonderful program, Business Bang. This is a hybrid business advisory and entrepreneurial mentorship. So what we look at is we develop the business so that it works for you. So instead of you going and doing this, I will physically say, hey, I actually think that you should be charging this and serving this market. I'm not a coach. I do coach within what I do, but as an advisor, I will physically tell you to do things. And I will sometimes say that's a bad idea. And if you want to do it, this will happen. And I will warn you of things. And I will also raise that standard on how things are happening in your business. And then we develop you as an entrepreneur. So you will go through your business, even if you're failing, which will happen, even if it's hard, really with an awesome level-headed mindset. You will end up almost with like an athlete level thinking. So when we look at the Olympics and how headstrong they are, this is something that I do with all of my clients. It's a small group. We have maximum at any time 30 people. We don't have that many people in there at the moment, but this is not like a program that's going to have 300 people. It's small, vetted community, excellent humans. Otherwise, what I do with a lot of my clients is they usually start with a strategy session with me. I find for a lot of people, what we do is we look at business structure. So we look at goals, we look at offers. Pretty much every client that I do these days, that's what we do. They'll come to me and they're like, I want to work more money. This is where I'm at. I want to make more money. This is where I'm at. And I'll say, change this, do this, sell this. I like this, but I think we need to tweak it. You'll get an action plan of all of the steps and any resources. So when I shared you the spreadsheets, you'll get spreadsheets, you'll get anything to kind of go and make this work. What is usually happening is people go and do that. And then they're like, I've had great results. I want to work with you as in private advisory, or let's work together in Business Bang. So you have those two options as well. But I want to thank you so much for being here today, giving me your morning. I hope that it was a good time investment for you and that you feel inspired, you have learned something, and you have some actionable steps to go away and do in your business. I will pop the replay up on YouTube. And I'll also pop it on the podcast. So if you want to listen to it again, you have the ability for that. But we have got time for some questions. So I'm going to stop sharing. Oh my God, there's still so many of you on here. And feel free, you can pop it in the chat or you can unmute yourself. I'm just going to check the chat to make sure I haven't missed anything. I keep forgetting I'm an expert in the area, so thank you for the reminder. 100%. This is something really common in health and allied health, where I feel that because education is really positioned, I see people, they're like, let me do another course, let me do this. And the thing is, the more you learn, it can feel sometimes like the less that you know. It's really quite common. So it's up to you to kind of be like, hey, I have so much evidence that I am truly gifted at what I do. And this can be for some of you creating, say, like a list of 20 things, 20 reasons why you are an expert, and going and finding them, because you are still going to have moments where you feel like you're not. That's inevitable. So keeping that and then reading that. All male entrepreneurs I know who dads have morning thinking time while mums get the kids ready. It's a bit shit, isn't it? It's very shit. It's something I find interesting in business, and something that we did with the marketing for this event, where it's like the people who sell stuff to service providers, they have a whole team of people that are helping them to make their life easy. And again, this is why there is this disconnect sometimes when people, they're like, you need to have a whole morning routine before you start. And it's like, sometimes you don't have the luxury, which is why you have to build that into the start with your goal. You've got to know what you're working towards and what you're working with, so that you actually can make this happen. Thank you so much, Natalie. Do you have any practices or tips for cutting out noise, feeling confident in creating your own path? Love this question. So what I want to say is we need to start becoming really good at catching ourselves when we feel ourselves spiral. And this is a practice that you'll start to get better at. It's really funny, you'll have a default mode. I used to feel sometimes stressed in business. I would have a day where I'm like, fuck, sales are not that great, or we're having a quieter month, or I've got a client that doesn't want to renew, whatever it is. And I would, for some reason, go to Instagram, and my brain would literally look at people who are doing better than me. And then I would automatically go into self-doubt. And what I have to do is catch myself, and I have a little process. So I will, when I feel like I'm on a path that is not serving me and it is not kind of supporting a future that I want, I will stop whatever I'm doing. I'll usually get up, like I'm very physical with this. I'll get up and I'll just like flick my hands like that. I'm like, nah, not your future. It's unproductive. And I will talk to myself out loud. And I will say things that support the future that I want. So even before I did this today, we got on Zoom, and I do this with every podcast episode. I basically give myself a pep talk. I'm like, you are going to have the best workshop. How cool is it that you get to be the highlight of someone's day? How amazing is it that you get to give information to people that need this in the moment, that maybe they're like, oh, that's a good take. And then they get to pull this out of their toolkit and use this, and it's going to make them so much money. And I will almost go on this, like, I think this is an Abraham Hicks term of like a joy rampage, of telling myself really positive things so I start to feel my state change. And then what I do from here is I think about all of the cool things that I'm going to do and how I get to help people. So for you, it's like, how amazing is it that I have developed this incredible process that gets to change people's lives? How amazing is it that I have gone through the hard work of developing this, of experiencing this, of finding how this works, and I get to distill this information in a way where even if someone gets 10 minutes of my time, that could change the whole trajectory of their business. And I know for all of you, you think that. Like, you can think now about if you had to impact someone's life with your expertise in 5 minutes, you could, every single one of you. Like if someone said to you, I'll give you $50,000 right now, and I want you to like wow me. I want you to tell me something that is just going to make my life or my morning better. You all could do that. All of you. So remember that. And it's about continually remembering and reminding yourself of that so that when you have a wobbly moment, you get to come back to that. And then over time, you'll find that you will start wobbling less and less and less. Thoughts on how goals can work with a portfolio career, e.g., working with specific offers for corporate and services for business owners? Yeah, so what I would do here is, again, you get clear on the goal. So for you, it could be, well, I want to experience this kind of work, or this is what I want. When I look at everything as a whole, I want it to look like this, and I want these particular clients. And then what you would do is you'll go to that next category down, and it would be like, okay, awesome. What are you selling? Or how is this offer going to be positioned? So you can really sell the same offer, but position the outcome slightly different. So I can look at my strategy session. I could sell that, but I could really position this as like a visionary goal setting session. I would use better copy than that, but it would be something where it's like, let's create a really awesome goal. We could focus on an offer. We could do an audit. So it's like the actual structure of the container isn't changing, but like the wrapping around it and what you're focusing on it is. Let me just check something quick. I cannot remember how long I booked this meeting room for. We are fine. I just had visions of someone opening the door and being like, bitch, get out. So I think that that can 100% work. What I want to say for all of you is a lot of experts, because we have a real love of our craft and we love doing what we're doing, I actually think that we need to talk more about what we do in our process. So this is something that a lot of the bros and the experts do. Have you noticed how everyone's adding a little TM behind everything now? It's like everyone's suddenly trademarked stuff so it seems more legitimate. It's a thing. You'll see it. It'll pop up everywhere now. That's a process that they have worked out. So what we get to do is we get to work out our process. And then for you, Brooke, like putting that out there within your marketing material and your content. This is work that we did. This was kind of the process. This is why we got these results. Because then what will happen is you will find that you'll have more people that want to come in and experience that process as well. So that's how I would do that. Thank you so much. Thank you. Before we wrap up, do we have any more questions? Are we good? Are we fabulous? Are we feeling amazing? Are we feeling like that everything that we want could happen? Vibrating on my seat. I love this. I would love to know any tips for getting out of a rut. I'm considering a pivot. I don't think I'm there yet. Okay. You never want to wait for your business to need full resuscitation because it is really hard to make moves from that point. I've had clients before that wait and wait and wait thinking things will get better, and then it doesn't. But what happens is the weight of stuff not working becomes so heavy that you want to give up. What you get to now do is, I would say that you probably feel in a rut because maybe you've kind of pushed yourself in a corner of, this is the work that I should be doing to the clients that I should be working with, and this is what I should be charging. Is that kind of happening at the moment? And then maybe you're kind of doing it, but we're not booked out and we feel like we're doing a lot and we feel like we're working a lot for not a lot of money in return. Because that happens a lot in, thank you so much, that happens a lot in B2B. Yeah, nailed it. So what I'm going to get you to do is I want you to come back to, what do you genuinely like? Imagine that you have 5 people and they've got 10 grand and they're like, spend it. I really trust whatever you say that we should do. And I would get really curious into what is currently really lighting you up and what do you genuinely love doing? And I would create a new offer. And I would position that and I would create a bit of a campaign. So start to warm people up to that on social media, wherever you're doing, when we look at those 2 categories of lead generation and sales, wherever your lead generation, so wherever you're promoting it. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that this is a high profit offer. So this is not covering a grocery shop. This is not something where we feel like we're earning every dollar. This is something where we get to allow our expertise to shine and we get to profit off. So maybe you would have charged $2,000 for it. I would encourage you to charge $4,000. and you will meet an edge and it'll feel stretchy. But all of a sudden, those feelings of discomfort and unease have just kind of shifted into something that is going to work for you more, which is bringing in more money. And then what we get to do here is we get to sell that. What's awesome is as soon as you lock that client in, you've just then probably sold your most profitable offering. You will feel so good. You will show up with such great energy that you will deliver an amazing project. You'll get a great testimonial and you'll get more clients. And I want you to lead with that offer. So this is going to be helpful for those of you who feel like you've kind of worked yourself into a bit of a corner with how you've run your business. It's sometimes not about going yet and redeveloping an offer, but it could be adding another tier. So it could be if you've got retainers, you add the retainer that you want, and then you get to go and talk to all of your existing clients. And it's like, hey, I've got this incredible new service. I want to offer it to you first. This is what we're doing. These are the results that you can get. I feel so excited about it because of this. Is this something that you think that you would want to transition from what we're doing to doing this instead? Be fine with being told no, that's okay, because you also plant the seed of that sale happening in future. I've worked with a client before, and this is how we got her a $100,000 client. We pitched it, we were told no. They did something like half the scope, so half the price. And 2 weeks later, they came back, they loved the results, and they bought the 100K offer. And she was a service provider in marketing and social media. So that's what I would do. I always get stuck in selling cheaper to more people or charging more and getting less people. How do you manage that? What we need to do is this is one place where being realistic is actually good to look at. I want you to look back in the past at your relationship with visibility and sales and ask yourself, is this something that you genuinely like that you can do consistently? And if the answer is no, then what is going to be easier is not doing something where we're relying on volume, because when we have a volume of sales, we need a volume of content and a volume of people. And what I would do is I would sell something that is a higher price point because you don't need to sell as many. So it's like within my office suite, I have something that's $35. How many of those business bang is $10,000? Let's get my trusty calculator out again. I do love a calculator. I would need to sell 285 of that offer to make the same as business bang. Do I think that I could sell 285? I could, but fuck, man, that would take so much work. If I put the same effort into selling business bang, I would probably sell 8. So I would make $80,000 instead of just the 10. So for you, this is where you get to remember that you are an expert, and I would package something up nicely. I would make sure that it works for you. So what this may be, this is your era of being a bit more hands off. I'm not going to put my time, I'm going to put my energy in it. I'm going to sell a recording. It's like with Give Good Email. Yes, we have a monthly call. Yes, we have a Facebook group, but that's a completely passive offer that people work through themselves, and it's $3,300. So that's available for you. You 100% will be able to manage this because you've got the skill set, babe. I so believe in you. I think I need to pivot here and go bigger now and not smell the small shit that everyone wants. Sometimes people don't know what they want. Clients will think, I don't want to spend that. But when you package it up and you actually position the future and the outcome that they want, they will buy that. Price, I know people think it's really important. You would really surprise yourself. I have just spent $60,000 on a very small bathroom. It's tiny. It's 1.5 by 2 meters long with a separate toilet. Insanity, isn't it? Why did I spend that much? Why did I go with that builder? Because I just knew he would handle the work and that I could run my business, and he wasn't going to bother me with shit. He would just figure it out, and he was really competent and capable. I could have gone with someone half the price. I didn't. It's happening at the moment. He rang me yesterday and he basically just gave me bullet point updates. I'm like, sweet, send the invoice. I'll pay the next installment. So I think that we can really think that if something needs to be a good deal, but again, this is why I keep saying you all have to remember that you are experts and that you are amazing. Because I think that we think that if we lead with the price, it will be a no-brainer. But when you lead with why you are exceptional and your process and your expertise, people will either find the money or they will make it work, or you can have different payment terms. You can have a payment plan. But I also am a huge fan as well of when we keep ourselves small, no one is ever inspired to change. As soon as we really push up against like what is normal in the industry, it inspires people to do some incredible things. So I have had people before that have said to me, I want to work with you, but I need the money. So fuck it. I am actually going to finally rip the band-aid off and I'm going to release this offer that I have been sitting on so I have the cash so I can do this. It has actually made them move forward. If you are B2C, maybe you inspire someone to finally clean out that garage and sell shit on the marketplace that they're always going to do later. So the flow on effect of you actually doing this benefits people so much because you will like the stories that they'll say, oh my God, I finally did this thing. I finally got the courage to do this because I wanted that. So it is really amazing the byproduct of what happens when you actually move like this in your business and how people will then move mountains to work with you and how their life gets better. Like it's so wonderful to see. What I might do, I've loved these questions. Thank you so much. Let's end it here because I'm conscious of your day as well. I feel like we could spend a whole day together. So maybe that's a little offering in future. If anything comes up or you have any more questions, please find me on Instagram at professionalbabe. I would love to keep doing more of these events as well. And what I'm going to do too, I am going to send out a replay of this probably tonight. I've got a client coming down, so fun. She's flying down from Brisbane and I'm being the creative director of her photo shoot. That's new for me. That's a new edge. And it's so exciting. I'm really looking forward to this. So you will get a replay either tonight or potentially tomorrow, and it will go on the podcast as well. Thank you so much for bringing your amazing energy, your presence, and your wonderful questions. I really want you to leave today and go and do something amazing because you are all fucking amazing, okay? Have a sexy day, everyone, and I'll see you later. Mwah, 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 mwah. Bye, sexies.